Hey guys, welcome to the first episode of Symmetry Mobility, where we are going to give you guys some mobility tips, a little routine. I'm going to walk you through the whole thing, second by second, and make sure that you guys are taking care of yourselves, keeping yourselves mobile, keeping your bodies moving during this time when most of us are stuck in positions that we may not normally be stuck in. And that could be as little as, I usually sit in a chair, now I'm sitting on the couch. It can wreak havoc on your body and start stiffening up things, start creating pains that may not present themselves right now, but once we get back out to real life and we start walking around and getting active again, these little things will start bringing themselves to the surface. So today we're going to keep it really simple. We're going to go after the big rocks. And those are going to be hip flexors, quads, hammies, and the inner thighs, the adductors. So all you're going to need today is a foam roller. Large, small, doesn't matter. It can be a ball, or you got a family member, have them dig that elbow in there. But we're going to start on the front. So we're going to take this, we're going to do 20 seconds on each side, or you can do the two-sided roll if you have the arm strength and the core strength. Sometimes it's easier just to get down on the elbow. Work your way through. Nice, slow movements. The research is indicating is that the slower, deeper oscillations of the foam roller are going to have a more relaxing effect on the tissues, and that's what we're going for today. This isn't a warm-up for exercise. This is a cool down from your daily life. And work it down a little bit farther. We're really only going to spend about 30 seconds on each side in each segment here. Working it through there. If you find a tight spot or a tender spot, don't push through pain to where you're in tears, but spend a little extra time in that area. Give it some extra attention. Let's go ahead and switch sides. Work your way through. You may notice that the same spot on both sides is just as tender and painful, or they may be totally different, which doesn't matter either way. Just work it out. Good. I got about 5 more seconds on this side. My right side is way worse. Good. Okay, we're gonna go to the hammies. For the hammies, if you do the bilateral roll, you don't tend to get as deep. So I like to stick with one side at a time. Try not to lock the leg out. The tension from the stretch in the hammy won't let you get in there as well. Just kind of roll up and down. There's less to the hamstrings than the quads. So you don't have to be as global about where you're rolling. Just kind of get up and down there. Realistically, it doesn't matter. As long as you're putting pressure in the area, it's still going to have that relaxing effect to the nervous system and get the tissues to settle down. Go ahead and switch sides. And throughout all this, especially if you find those tight and tender spots, don't forget to breathe. In through the nose, out through the mouth. There's plenty of research to show the positive benefits of nasal breathing. We won't dive into that one here, but they are robust. So don't forget to breathe. Good. Okay. Last one is the inner thighs, the adductors. That's a little trickier. We want to get into this frog leg position. And what I like to do is I like to get that hip up to as close to a 90-degree angle as I can. And then basically all I'm doing is I'm getting into a little mini plank from the knees and the elbows. And I'm going to turn my body away, and then I'm just going to roll through. And you may find that this one's by far the worst, which it definitely is for me. Just nice and slow. Work your way through there. Again, we're going to spend about 30 seconds on each side. Get things nice and opened up. Don't forget that breathing. All the way up to the groin. And back down. Got 5 more seconds here. And go ahead and switch sides. Let's get up to that 90-degree angle. Mini plank. And we're going to roll through. Gotta say, my right side, it's a mess. Left side, no issues on the quad, no issues on the adductors. Right side, not enjoying this. Good, keep going, don't forget to breathe. Get all the way up into that groin. That's probably the tightest spot for me on the left side. 3, 2, 1. Good. Okay. Now, we can hang on to that foam roller as a support here. So what we're going to do is we're going to get into a kneeling stretch. The idea here is not shoving the hip as far forward as you can. What we want to do is we want to get everything nice and stacked. So hips are over the knees, shoulders are over the hips. We're getting these 90-degree positions all throughout the ankles, the knees, the hips. This is just here for support and balance. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to squeeze that glute of the leg that's down. In this case, it's my right leg. I'm going to squeeze that around and I'll feel that stretch intensify. Realistically, as we squeeze that glute, we should feel a stretch somewhere in here. What you may notice is you feel it all the way down into your knee. Not a good sign. It's just an indicator of how tense that chain is. When we put that knee at a 90-degree angle, we start pulling from below to create some slack from above in that anterior chain. When you get that knee at the 90-degree angle and you squeeze that glute and you rotate that pelvis back, you start pulling from the other side and it'll indicate where your tightest region is in that anterior chain. That's where we cheat the system by going forward like this. Now I've taken that 90-degree flex out of the knee, now everything's coming from here and I'm not testing the whole chain as well. We're going to hold this for another 5 seconds. Don't forget to breathe. Keep the core tight. There's no use in slouching in the upper body while we're trying to engage the lower body. Want everything nice and tall, nice and stacked. Good. Go ahead and switch. Let me keep this over here for your viewing pleasure. Remember, get stacked. Squeeze that glute as much as you can. If this is too easy and you don't feel anything, challenge me. You can either reach the arm way up and you'll feel that into the abs. It's still part of that anterior chain. Don't think of each individual muscle and joint as its own entity. Everything works together. It's this fluid system. So we need to open up that whole chain. So you can reach that arm up as long as you have balance. Remember, you have your foam roller there for balance support. Keep that glute nice and squeezed. If you're really feeling saucy, you can give it a little reach back a little bit, but don't shove that hip forward. You're just creating a little bit more bend at the knee to really put extra tension on that system. And good. 30 seconds is over. All right, we're gonna move into the hammies. So, hamstrings, easy way to cheat hamstring flexibility is to stand up and flex forward. Again, we move in these big long chains. We're talking about the posterior chain now. So your hamstrings is the lower quadrant of your posterior chain. Your back, your low back and up, is the upper quadrant. So if I bend at the upper back and I flex forward, I've taken tension out of that whole system on the upper end. So I'm no longer stretching my hamstrings, I'm stretching my back. So what I want you to do, and this may be challenging for a lot of people, is to get as tall as you can, straighten the knees, and we're going to try to lift that chest up. And this is how we're going to stretch that hamstring chain, or that posterior chain. Nice tall chest. If you need a little extra something, pull those toes up. If you can't get into this position, which a lot of us can't, you can support yourself with the arms here. But the idea is just the same. So I'm going to lock those knees, I'm going to pull those toes up, I'm going to squeeze the shoulder blades back, so I'm kind of creating this exaggerated extension in the upper body. And then I'm just going to get to the point where I feel a pretty good stretch in those hamstrings, or down behind the knee, or down into the calf. Remember, it's all part of that chain. Doesn't matter where you feel it, it's going to expose your weak link. So, probably gone pretty close, and we'll call that our 30 seconds. Okay, last one. We're going to get into those adductors. What we want to do is we're going to get into this outstretched position here. One knee down. You can put a pillow under your knee to give it a little padding there. And then the other leg's all the way out. So in this position, I should already feel like I'm getting a little bit of stretch in that outstretched leg. I can feel it all the way through that adductor band. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get into this nice tabletop position. And I'm going to roll my pelvis forward. So I'm actually getting a little, for scientific terms, ghetto booty. I'm sticking that butt out. So I'm going to lift that up. I'm going to extend the low back a little bit. And all that does is just change that pelvic tilt so I get a little more tension in there. Now it's even pulling a little farther. Once I've locked that in, I'm going to lock my core in. I'm going to try to keep that pelvic tilt. And I'm going to just rock back. Just slightly. And you should feel that stretch intensify. I don't want the foot coming up onto the edge. I want that foot nice and flat. I don't want the knee dropping in. I want that knee pointing straight ahead. Pelvic tilt. And I'm rocking back. Nice and slow. Don't come all the way out of it to where you don't feel any tension. Keep that mild tension and then intensify. Mild tension and intensify. You feel like you're gripping that outstretched foot to the ground. That'll increase the tension even a little bit more. And good. Let's go ahead and switch sides. So I've gotten it out. I found my tension point at baseline. I'm going to pelvic tilt. And I'm rocking. This side feels worse. My right side. It's so bad. I rock back. Keep that pelvic tilt the whole time. Nice tabletop position. Not forgetting to breathe. We've done nothing but foam rolling and mild stretching. And I can tell you that I'm feeling it. I'm getting a little hot. I'm sweating a little bit. So it's not unusual to be breathing a little heavy, feeling a little sweat, feeling like you got a little workout in. We're creating changes in these big change systems like this. Good, go ahead and relax. We're going to stimulate the nervous system. The foam roller is a stimulation to the nervous system. Stretching is just a form of load, which is a stimulation to the nervous system. So we're not necessarily trying to create this plastic change in just the tissues. We're trying to create a nervous system response. We're trying to get your brain to sense that, oh, that feels nice. That's actually what I've been looking for. Okay, you don't have to have low back pain from sitting all day now that you're doing this. This is fantastic. It may not feel that way while you're doing it, but after the fact, you should feel significantly more opened up. When you stand up, you walk around, you should feel like you have a longer gait cycle. You should feel like your hips are nice and free. And if you do have some low back pain right now, you may notice a significant decrease in the symptoms. So that is today's routine. We'll send another one out later this week. Give it a shot. You can do this every day if you want. There is no limitations on how many days you can do this. It'll only help you. It's a nice reset. Give it a shot.